Hi, this is Steve from LZ23 Strength, and this is where we strive to exert ourselves, elevate our health, and evolve in mind and body. And what we're discussing today is something that can help us to definitely do that. It checks all the boxes, and that's omega-3s. Now, these fatty acids might be better known when you break them down. There's three important ones for human health: EPA, DHA, and ALA. EPA and DHA both are primarily marine or seafood we can get them from, and ALA can be plant based. And I'm not a scientist. I have to say that out front. You might get tired of hearing that. I'm not a doctor. Anything I'm talking about in this video is purely for entertainment and informational purposes, and hopefully I found it compelling enough, and I hope you find it compelling enough that you go do your own research and look into it, because it does show to have some very powerful effects on our health and anti-aging. And if you really want the scientific aspect of it, Dr. Rhonda Patrick is very good. She's a proponent of omega-3s, and she has like an over an hour long video explaining studies and details regarding what it does to the human body. I'm just going to give you an overview that shows that it's something definitely worth looking into for our health. And I've known a little bit about it, and now I'm going to dive deeper into it. And so let's get into it. Now, there's something I've never done, and that's what I'm going to also do in the near future. Is when you get a blood panel, I'm going to ask my doctor to include an omega-3 index test. You can do it through blood work, and it gives you an idea where you stand. And optimal is 8% and above to 12%. Moderate is 4%, and below 4% is undesirable, to say the least. And yet, that's the most common number or result for most individuals in the United States. So, put another way, 90% of Americans are deficient when it comes to omega-3s, and globally it's around 80%. So, just to give you an idea how important it can be when it comes to the omega-3, that studies show that individuals who have a high omega-3 have a 90% reduced risk of sudden cardiac death. That's pretty big, and especially when you throw this statistic in there that every 30 to 40 seconds, so almost two individuals every minute are having a heart attack somewhere in the United States. So at least one individual, maybe two every minute. So yeah, it's pretty serious and worth definitely looking into. And also, this statistic is something pretty phenomenal from a study. And again, Dr. Rhonda Patrick pointed this out in her talk: life expectancy. So for non-smokers who have a low omega-3 index, had a similar life expectancy to smokers, but the smokers who had a high omega-3. So non-smokers, it's fascinating when you put those side by side to think, could it really be that the omega-3s make that big of a difference, that it would equal out with smokers and non-smokers? So it's, again, powerful information to look into and do research. Omega-3s slow biological aging. That's what's really put out there in a lot of studies, and more evidence is coming forth each year with these studies, and that's just by itself. But it can have a synergistic effect with other things like vitamin D, exercise, and what it can do. And when you put all these things together, it's especially good in lowering inflammation, which is a major driver in so many health problems and diseases. And basically, inflammation is pretty much at the core of aging. So when we talk about omega-3s could slow down biological aging, it's a pretty big statement, but so many things are kind of leaning in that direction. So we're going to talk about 4 areas of benefit that omega-3s, and then we'll talk about how we can try to incorporate more into our lives. Our bodies can't produce it on our own, so we really have to obtain it through our diets and through supplementation. But first of all, as we mentioned earlier regarding our hearts, omega-3s are renowned for their ability to support cardiovascular function. They help by lowering triglycerides in our blood and also slightly reducing blood pressure and preventing irregular heartbeats. And they also slow the buildup of plaque in our arteries, which is significant, and that reduces the risk of heart disease and stroke. So if that was it, being that heart disease and cardiovascular disease is the number one killer, just that alone, it would be worth researching, perhaps supplementing, trying to incorporate the foods that we're going to talk about later. Just that alone would be worth it for us to do that. But there's 3 other important ones as well. Another one is regarding brain and mental health. And because omega-3, specifically the DHA, they're heavily concentrated in the brain, they're vital for cognitive function. They help with memory and potentially lowering the risk of dementia and Alzheimer's. And we know those just keep climbing, the rates keep climbing when it comes to those areas. Also, they reduce the symptoms of anxiety and depression. And anxiety and depression have become so commonplace that I don't think it's given enough attention. We just assume that that's a normal part of existence today, is people dealing with anxieties and some form of depression. And it's starting to affect younger and younger people. So again, this is an area that it definitely can help. So it's worth our diving into to see the benefits. Now, one of the ways is in our brains. Perhaps you've heard of the hippocampus, and what omega-3s do help stave off the losing the volume. Another way to put it is it's associated with larger hippocampal brain volume. And again, we want all the cognitive help we can get as we get older, because so many folks are suffering when it comes to these things. Even if it's not full-blown dementia and Alzheimer's, there's brain fog and memory loss. All those things affect the quality of life. So again, it's worth looking into. We also mentioned this part earlier, but it definitely helps with inflammation and immunity. And as said, inflammation is at the basic core of aging, because it causes so many issues, whatever body organ we're talking about, from the heart to the brain to other areas. So omega-3s have a potent anti-inflammatory effect, and it helps protect our blood vessels and organs. Now, excuse me, it can also alleviate symptoms of autoimmune diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis. So again, omega-3s, we're talking about the heart, we're talking about the brain, talking about all of our organs. The 4th area deals with our eye health. Our retinas contain a high concentration of DHA from omega-3s, and that fact is essential for maintaining good vision. Again, quality of life, we want to be able to see properly, be able to read, see the beautiful colors and earth around us. So our eyes are super valuable to us. And these DHA, it's used often to protect against age-related macular degeneration, which is a relatively common problem as individuals age with eyes. So those are the 4 keys: our cardiovascular, our brain and cognitive health, inflammation and immunity, and eye health. So it's worth, again, our digging into that when it comes to omega-3s. As we mentioned, the primary way of getting them is through marine or seafood. Salmon is the number one. And I guess there's a lot of things that you look at, whether it's farm raised salmon or wild caught salmon. I think the wild caught is probably better, but things like mackerel, sardines, albacore tuna, these are all high in it. But then you got to get into things like microplastics and heavy metals, mercury. So again, it's going to take research. Again, I'm only presenting this out there for you to hopefully be compelled to do research yourself and try to find what's going to work best for you. And the other way we can get it too is through plants like walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds. So there's a variety of ways that we can put something together, because what's recommended is possibly around 2 grams a day of omega-3s. So can we get some of it through seafood, some of it through the plant source, and then the rest through supplementation? That's one way to look at it. That's how I'm going to try to do it, because in general, I'm not a fan of tuna, sardines, even salmon, certain aspects of it, which I have to do some more research myself. I like salmon sashimi, but I don't know if it needs to be the big pieces. There's some small ones that I buy, and I put some meals together that I can handle. But everybody's different. But we've got to look at it kind of as medicine if we're going to do it. But that's what I'm going to try to do. I like walnuts. I do sprinkle chia seeds for the protein and other aspects on some things. So if you can do a little bit of the seafood, and actually there's not a lot, but I believe shrimp also has, and I do like shrimp. So trying to put some kind of a system together where I can incorporate the seafood, get some walnuts, some chia seeds, and then also find some supplements that, again, even that you have to do research, because you just don't want to pick up any supplement. You want to find a reputable. When it comes to these, I think Nordic is highly recommended. But if you do research, you'll find those that you'll be able to take and use and benefit from. So I hope you found this compelling, because I think it touches on so many areas. And in the future, I'm going to talk about some other supplements that I'm kind of get back into, doing some research on, and present that to you. But in the future, I'm hoping to take that index test, and I'll let you know where I sit. And hopefully it's not too expensive to add that into the blood test. I honestly don't know. So in the meantime, consider that, at least, even if you're not going to supplement, try to incorporate some of that food a little more into your routine, and exert yourself, elevate your health, and evolve in mind and body. And please hit the like button, and please subscribe, and we'll get back with you soon. Thanks.